We're going to dive right in. There is a lot here. We're only reading one paragraph. So this is my apologies of how I formatted this before we went into Yom Tif. So we're going to turn to, it will be the third page. So the middle of the page will start, the sages taught in a Braita, the basic mitzvah of Hanukkah. We are reading one of the most important rabbinic passages about Pesach. We're going to start with Hanukkah. All right, so if I can have a volunteer read for me from that paragraph, starting with the sages taught in a Braita. Hold on, I'm going to get you the mic.
The sages taught in a Baraita, the basic mitzvah of Hanukkah is each day to have a light kindled by a person, the head of the household, for himself and his household, and the mehadrim, etc. Those who are meticulous in the performance of the mitzvah light a candle for each and every one in the household, and the mehadrim min however, who are each even more meticulous, adjust the number of lights daily. Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel disagree as to the nature of that adjustment. Beit Shammai say, on the first day one kindles 8 lights, and from there gradually decreases the number until on the last day he kindles 1 light. And Beit Hillel say, on the first day one kindles 1 light, and from there on gradually increases the number of lights until on the last day he kindles 8 lights.
Okay, we'll turn the page. Keep going, Dieta.
Okay, gotta get the page turned. Ula said, there are 2 Amoraim in the west. Eretz Yisrael, who disagreed with regard to this dispute, Rabbi Yosef bar Avin and Rabbi Yosef bar Zevida. One said that the reason for Beit Shammai's opinion is that the number of lights corresponds to the incoming days, in other words, the future. On the first day, 8 lights remain in Hanukkah, 1 kindles 8 lights. On the second day, 7 days remain, 1 kindles 7. The reason for Beit Hillel's opinion is that the number of lights corresponds to the outgoing days. Each day, the number of lights corresponds to the number of days of Hanukkah that were already observed. And one said that the reason for Beit Shammai's opinion is that the number of lights corresponds to the bulls of the festival of Sukkot. 13 were sacrificed on the first day, and each succeeding day 1 fewer were sacrificed. The reason for Beit Hillel's opinion is that the number of lights is based on the principle one elevates to the higher level in matters of sanctity, and one does not downgrade. Therefore, if the objective is to have the number of lights correspond to the number of days, there is no alternative to increasing the number with the passing of each day.
Thank you, Dieta. All right, so this is a passage. Anyone familiar with this passage? So this is something that we study each and every year on Hanukkah to talk about why we kindle 1 light on the first night of Hanukkah, 2 lights on the second, and so on and so on and so on, so that we're working our way up to the final night of Hanukkah, which is their 8 lights, and we fill up our Hanukkahs. And the rabbis, their takeaway is, why do we do this? Because they ultimately side with Beit Hillel, that the reason that we do this is that we always increase in holiness, and we never decrease in holiness. Right? We're all in agreement? Now, what makes that a little bit complicated is that the rabbis have a system. They have a legal and philosophical system that says once you hold that opinion, it's not just supposed to sound pretty, it's not just supposed to sound nice, it needs to be applicable throughout all of our holidays. And if it's not, then it's not a proof text. So, it's easy to think about that on Hanukkah. On the first night, we light 1 light. We get up higher and higher. We increase in holiness. Here we are in Pesach, and the same rule applies. Now, what makes that a little tricky is that we have Seder first night and second night. This year we're lucky because we have Seder, second night Seder, Shabbat, but then we make Havdalah And we get into the last days of Pesach, and if you are anything like me, that's when you start getting to the point of being tired of matzah, when you start daydreaming of pizza, until you get to the end of the holiday and you're just sitting there with the broken pieces of matzah with cream cheese and you're saying, anything else, anything else. It's where we get to in this holiday. And it's complicated, it's tough, because this is what we're supposed to do. The same idea is held here. 8 days of this holiday, and the application is the same. Each and every single day we are supposed to increase in holiness. That can feel tough after big communal, that really for some of us, the highlights of our year is the Pesach Seder. So the question then becomes, how do we increase in our holiness after the huge climax of ritual that we just had for the first 2 nights? It's an important question. Chol HaMoed can be tough. But one of the things that we have to remember is that all of this, everything that we do, is to be a replication of what used to happen to our ancestors back in the days when the Beit HaMikdash was standing. And if we remember, one of my nieces asked a really incredible question the first night of Pesach, which is, why do we have 8 nights of Passover? Why isn't it just the first 2 nights, the Seder nights? And the answer is that for our ancestors, this was a pilgrimage holiday. And if you are picking up all of your stuff and schlepping all the way to Yerushalayim, the idea of, taking your family vacation, your big family vacation, but you're only staying for a night or 2, it misses the point, right? When you go, you stay. And each and every night, you're making it a special vacation, you're making it a special trip, so that the holiday is a recreation of the pilgrimage holiday. The first 2 nights of Pesach is this big communal feast that we have together, but the rest is still holiday. It's vacation. It is pilgrimage. But if we're not physically making that pilgrimage to Yerushalayim anymore, then we have to think about it in a different way. And this is when things are hard. Because for our modern sensibilities, the idea of what we're about to talk about is tough, which is that the pilgrimage now is a spiritual pilgrimage. It is a mandate, it is a chiyuv, it is an invitation to increase our holiness, not in the easiest ways that we know how, which is to sit around a table and to eat and drink and to sing, because that makes things a lot easier. But when those built-in rituals aren't there anymore, then we have to find different ways of elevating our holiness. And so the first thing I want to challenge each and every one of us to do, myself included, is to find tradition and ritual to insert into Chol HaMoed. Whether that be day trips, whether that be certain meals or seudot that we can have in our Chol HaMoed, whether it's going to Comerica, watch the Tigers play during Chol HaMoed, whatever it might be, but something to elevate our Chol HaMoed, to make it significant, something special that we only do on Chol HaMoed Pesach. That's one thing. The second thing is that we do actually have a built-in system. But again, it is one that's hard, because it's esoteric. It involves thinking in ways that are a little bit more complicated and can be frustrating because we have to separate ourselves and try to transcend from what we're used to. And that second thing is the Omer. Starting on the second night of Pesach, we start counting the Omer. And the Omer, if we remember, is this ancient ritual that is about counting the harvest all the way up from Pesach until Shavuot. But it is also, from the perspective of the mystics, this opportunity to prepare ourselves for what comes next. Because if we are remembering all of this as a historical recreation of what happened to our ancestors, what happens after Exodus? Revelation. So leaving Egypt is setting the stage for us to receive the Torah. They're intricately connected. And our mystics tell us that we are not ready to receive the Torah unless we elevate in holiness so that we can prepare ourselves to receive the Torah. This is our opportunity in counting the Omer each and every single night, not just to say, by the way, our ancestors used to count a harvest. It is an opportunity to say, our ancestors waited after the Exodus to prepare themselves to receive the Torah, min hashamayim, to receive Torah from heaven. And we too, just like we have left Egypt, we too need to prepare ourselves to receive Torah. Each and every single night we are given an invitation to take 10 seconds, 30 seconds, however long you need to take one step back and to count. And that counting is not just to count. And we say this as part of our blessings, that it's not just about counting the day, it is about making the day count. Each and every single day we are given this invitation to say, how are you increasing in your holiness? And maybe it's the way that Rabbi Shaarey invited us to say earlier, to say, what Jewish element can we add right now in this moment of Aviv that can add extra blessings, extra brachot to our lives? Or maybe it's to be able to just take those 10 seconds, those 15 seconds, to take a step back and to think about how we can build ourselves in a spiritual way as well. So, I'm going to invite us to get outside of our comfort zone. And for some of you, you're going to love this. Some of you, you're going to hate this. But I invite you to just embrace it in whatever way, whatever feelings that you're going to have about it. It's going to be great. But I want you to sit up in your seat. And I want to invite you to plant your feet on the floor. And I want to invite us to begin this pilgrimage. So I'll invite you to close your eyes. And here we are on the second day of Pesach. Last night we counted the very first night of the Omer. Days ahead of us where each and every single day is going to ask us, even when our days are hard, even when we have work or drama or anxiety about what's coming each and every single day, we're still pushing ourselves to increase in holiness, to walk up the hill, to walk up the mountain to receive Torah. So we're going to start by allowing ourselves to relax. Starting with the very tip of your head, take a deep breath. And let your body relax all the way through your shoulders, down through your arms, and out the tips of your fingers. Right in your core, in the middle of your goof, in the middle of your body, to let it relax. And then down through the upper part of your legs, your thighs, to your knees. The way through your legs and your feet. And out through the tips of your toes. Through it all, we're going to keep breathing. Deep breaths. Now, in the blackness that exists behind your eyes, as your eyes are closed, I want you to imagine a phrase. And all it says, you can try to place these words, these letters in front of you that just say, I matter. Then I want you to think about just how important, how true, and how honest this next phrase is and means. to imagine these words in front of you. Hashem needs me. Hashem needs me. God needs me. This world needs me. And then we're going to take just a few more seconds to breathe and to think about what that means, the implications of that to increase our holiness. So as we ascend, we too can merit receiving Torah, bringing goodness and light and meaning to this world. I matter. God needs me. And then we're going to start letting our body wake back up, starting with our feet. You can wiggle your toes. Coming up through your legs and back into your core. Move through your shoulders. If you want to roll your shoulders, move your neck. All the way out through the top of your head. And whenever you're ready, you take your time, you can open your eyes. As we give ourselves this gift of Passover, to talk about what Rabbi Starr talked about yesterday, we have our Cherut. By the very beginning of Passover, by going through our Sedarim, by living out the story of the Exodus, we have our Cherut, we have our freedom. And now it is our Chofesh, it is our opportunity to increase our freedom through acts of holiness. Whatever that might mean. Studying some Torah, focusing on ourselves, our families, our friends, allowing ourselves joy, spiritual nourishment, the love that is so central to who we are as people, that each and every single day that we challenge ourselves to make this pilgrimage, to increase in holiness, to increase in joy, and to merit Torah. Chag Sameach, everyone.